to downtown Minneapolis. They prioritize sourcing as many ingredients as possible from local farmers. Check them out on South 2nd Street next to the Guthrie Theater, open Wednesday through Sunday. Visit farmerskitchenandbar.com. Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Good morning, Twin Cities. It is Saturday, June 27th. We are reckoning with real estate, and we are at Pride in Loring Park, and we're so happy to be here. In my head this morning when I was waking up, I was like, it's going to be 11 a.m. There's not going to be anybody here. It's all going to be good. There are lots of people here. It's a beautiful day, and I just want to first give a shout out to the crew of AM 950.
Yes.
Getting this all organized and set up is an extreme sport.
Yep.
And I wish the listeners could have seen the last 5 minutes, but you know what? We're here. And we're going to do this. So again, Reckoning with Real Estate, a show about the American dream and building a better real estate company. And I am Paige Kale. I'm with the Real Estate Collaborative, and I am here with my co-host, Megan Howard, who's also with the Real Estate Collaborative.
Yay, thanks, Paige. So fun to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. And we have a really special show today for you all. We're talking housing, of course, which is what we talk about on this show. And we are going to talk about the Yes to Homes legislation. It has gone anywhere for 3 sessions, but we've made some progress, and it's going to be back in 2027. It's an important topic. We want people to understand what it is, and ultimately, if you want to get involved, we're going to have some resources for you, and we'll also have, it's important to vote for pro-housing candidates. So keep that in mind as November is coming up. So Megan, do you want to take it from here and do your thing?
Sure. I wish everybody could feel the energy that's down here because it's awesome. And I know that we had some disappointments in housing this past spring, but we got to keep it going. We have to stay positive. There are good things happening, and I'm really looking forward to talking with everybody today about those. So yeah, I'm Megan Howard with the Real Estate Collaborative. Always happy to work with Paige. And yeah, our focus is helping folks find home, and we're always happy to answer any questions people have. But I am going to introduce our guests. And I will introduce you and then tell us a little bit about yourselves. And first, we're going to start with AsaleSol, the Executive Director of Housing in Action.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for inviting us. So happy to be here. I'm AsaleSol Young, the Executive Director of Housing in Action. Preferred pronouns they, them. Housing in Action was founded in 1995. And since then, we have been moving across the pipeline of affordable housing from stabilized rental to affordable ownership and development opportunities, including cooperative development. We're now moving into cluster home development. And so the topic of yes to homes is a huge issue for us around zoning, something we think about a lot. Our mission is to lead the fight for housing justice so that all people have a safe, stable, and dignified place to live. Our vision is housing justice for all within the physical pipeline of stable rental to development opportunities. We do education. We make sure to connect policy to our community, our residents in North Minneapolis, folks who are too often left out of the conversation. We make sure that our elected officials actually remember the Northside community. So it's a big part of what we do. Our education includes financial support, what it means to build financial wellness and financial independence, as well as how to function in a cooperative limited equity co-op. So that's a bit about us.
I love that. You guys are a small and mighty team. How many? 11 of you, I think, total?
That's right. There's just 11 of us.
And all the things you do, it's amazing.
And we're all exhausted, but we know the fight is worth it.
Yes. Yeah, shout out to all the nonprofits out there just doing what they do.
That's right.
We're so grateful. Right. Awesome. Well, and our other guest here today is Ann Starr Mavity, which is the Executive Director of Minnesota Housing Partnership. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you so much for inviting me here today. I'm delighted to be here. Minnesota Housing Partnership, which I'll refer to as MHP.
Cool.
We have been around also for not quite 40 years, about 35, 40 years. And we work in 3 program areas with the goal to make sure that everyone has a home. It's pretty simple and straightforward that way. The first area we work in is research. So we encourage people to go to our website, mhponline.org, where we have the facts and figures of housing. So we do a state of the state's housing report each year that really outlines trends in home ownership and rental homes and permits and all kinds of information. We also disaggregate that by counties and, importantly, by legislative district, because when I walk into a room a lot of the time and I ask folks who's a housing expert and no one raises their hand, and I say, I don't believe you. You're all housing experts because you all have a housing story to tell. Absolutely. Whether it's because you've had great housing that's launched your life or you've struggled through it and know those challenges. And we have those facts and figures that makes you feel like the expert, but you're walking in the expert already. So, and we do specialized research as well. And then the second area we work in is advocacy and policy development. All that research that we have, we help convene housing stakeholders and champions across the state to align together across a full continuum of housing solutions that we need and help design and facilitate policy solutions at the state level, as well as educate the delegation at the federal level. And then the third area, which for some folks in the Twin Cities is a sleeper, but known widely throughout the state and nationally, is that we get a lot of federal funding to work with rural communities and Native nations. Think of it as communities that are too small to have housing expertise on staff or in their community, and we lend that housing expertise to help figure out what the housing needs are, design solutions, and then help get them funded. Once they get funded, we walk away and we let those local communities do the work, but we bring in that expertise. And then also the learnings from that help drive the policy agenda as well.
Yeah, and we were talking before this show, and you have not been on our show before. AsaleSol has, and I'm just going to give a shout out to the episodes that Megan and AsaleSol did a few months ago, episodes 27 and 28. Very if you want to learn more about Housing in Action and what they do, and just more about the need for housing in general. But Anne, you were saying you were a city council person for a number of years.
I have been. I've been involved in politics. I think politics and policy are where the sort of the tip of the spear is in terms of getting solutions happening. And so early in my career, I worked in Congress in Washington, D.C. on the subcommittee on housing. I've worked at different levels on housing issues. And then in St. Louis Park, I was a city council member for 3 terms there, really driving an agenda of housing affordability, of a walkable, bikeable, safe community, all the things that make build communities and make communities strong. So it wasn't just my agenda. The city council and the city community adopted those as well, and I think that it's better for it. I now live on the Greenway in Minneapolis, and I've come back to my roots where I grew up here. But
yeah, and you biked here this morning. So smart.
I did.
Well, and what I love that about you both agreeing to be on the show today at Pride is you bring different perspectives that overlap and I think are very important to getting to the solutions. AsaleSol, your organization is very much boots on the ground, which is so important. And you also work on the policy side. And Anne, MHP is my go-to when I want housing statistics. I mean, every time you guys put together really great reports on the state of the housing in Minnesota. One thing that you've said when you were introducing yourself is how important policy is. And I think all of us can agree that policy is really, really important. I'm going to give a shout out to a couple other episodes. We had Professor Ed Goetz on from Cura. Megan and I talked to him, and those are episodes 25 and 26. And he talks about how we've gotten to where we are today because of policies that were created decades ago. And so if policies got us to where we are today, policies are the solution, at least a big part of the solution to get us back on track and get housing for people that's dignified and stable. The dignified thing that Housing Action, that just, I think it's so important to talk about that.
And let me just amplify that policies were made by regular people,
Mm-hmm.
and with all their brilliance and all their faults. And that means that regular people can run for office and advocate for policies that are an improvement upon whatever was made before. So I'm always very hopeful because we can change these things.
Yeah.
And for anyone who is thinking, oh, policy work, we need bodies in the room when you have those city council meetings, when you need to show up down at the Capitol, holding a sign, advocating for more housing. If you don't need I think people are intimidated if that's not, maybe what they're into, but you just show up. We talk often about that. Showing up, standing up for more housing, advocating for those in your community. And I think, like you said it correct, or AsaleSol, you're going to say something?
I was actually,
Yeah,
if I
go
could
for it.
add to that, I think, and I love how much you champion the everyday person getting involved. Like, it is so true. And we have that legacy.
Yep.
Right? As a state, as a city, as a Twin Cities in particular, when we look at even the recent mutual aid efforts of I'm sorry.
No.
The mutual aid efforts of everyone. We see how powerful it is when we look across at our neighbors and we recognize they are family, they need our support, and we can show up for them. And exactly what you're talking about, all we're doing is extending that kind of motivation by showing up to cases, by writing in and calling your elected officials. These are things you can do over the weekend. You can plan the email to go out Monday morning, right? These are everyday things that actually matter.
Yes.
Survey data is important. It kind of feels like it's lost in the ether often.
Right.
But when you're able to produce the numbers that say a large number of a community, of a county actually showed up and said, we want housing options for all of our neighbors, that matters.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there is so much. We just got the 2-minute mark. So everybody needs to remind me to be quiet in 2 minutes. But I feel like there's so much that we could get involved in, right? We get the emails and the texts every day, and there's so many different directions that we could go. I really want to encourage people to get involved in housing because it is I call it a front-end solution. If everybody had their basic needs met, including housing, think about what our communities would look like. They'd look a lot different and they'd feel a lot different. So for those that are listening or here today, if you want to get involved, reach out to any of us and we will make that happen.
Absolutely.
And just one more push on that as well. We have had the facts and figures on housing for decades.
Yep.
So we know what the challenges are. We know what the solutions are. But it's the stories that people tell.
Yeah.
It's right now when everyone's up for election and they're knocking on doors and they keep hearing individual housing stories.
Yes.
That is what changes the direction, and that is what changes the hearts and minds of the policymakers and the trajectory of what's possible in terms of our policies.
Yes, and that is such a good place to pick up on the other side of our break, the stories. So on the other side of the break, we're going to talk about stories, the boots on the ground stories, which I think we all have. So listening to Reckoning with Real Estate, and we will be back in a couple minutes.
Bringing down the light, every swing you take, my heart in the fray, crashing through these walls, take my breath away.
When I first started to shop more consciously, it felt impossible to find brands that were truly sustainable and not still wrapped in single-use plastic. And that's why I opened Evergreen Collective. At Evergreen Collective, you can refill everyday essentials like soap, shampoo, and cleaners while skipping the plastic. I've already done countless hours of research, so you can shop with confidence. Visit Evergreen Collective in person on Grand Ave in St. Paul, or shop online for convenient delivery at www.ecoevergreen.co. That's www.ecoevergreen.co.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces would like to show you the Dimplex electric fireplaces, available in many styles and ingenious ways to simulate fire and flame. Come see Dimplex electric fireplaces in operation at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. You can create a place for fire everywhere in your home. No need for chimney or gas line or firewood. And you can enjoy a cozy flame all year round because with electric fireplaces, you have the option of having a fire without the heat.
If you've been missing fire in your life, an electric fireplace may be an attractive and smart option. An electric fireplace insert can also be a clever way to bring life to an existing non-functioning fireplace. Enjoy the fireplace as the place in your home to gather together, the place in your home to relax and reflect. Experience the place for fire as the fundamental center of your home.
Come see the Dimplex electric fireplaces at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, 2901 East Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, and online at woodlandstoves.com. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
At Planned Parenthood, they believe everyone deserves health care that respects their identity and their personal decisions. Whether you need gender-affirming care, STI testing, birth control, or an expert to answer your sexual health questions, they're here for you. They even offer select primary care. Many of Planned Parenthood services are available by telehealth, or you can visit any of their 10 Minnesota health centers. You can learn more about Planned Parenthood's healthcare, educational programming, and advocacy work at ppncs.org or find them at Twin Cities Pride.
Getting to Big Hill Books might feel like a bit of a plot twist right now. With the Penn Avenue exit at I-394 closed through fall 2026, we recommend using your GPS to find the best route. Trust us, we're worth it. You'll find us in the lovely Bryn Mawr neighborhood at 405 Penn Avenue South in Minneapolis. Start your journey at bighillbooks.com. Big Hill Books, where stories and people are worth the trip. Read, think, grow.
Greg Bakken here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Welcome back to Reckoning with Real Estate, a show about the American dream and building a better real estate company. I'm Paige Kale, and I'm here with Megan Howard. We're with the Real Estate Collaborative. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Before break, we ended with talking about personal housing stories and how, you know, policy is important, but also the stories are super important too, because we all have our own housing story. And our guests, AsaleSol and Mavity, are going to kind of kick us off on talking about kind of those personal boots on the ground stories and your own or others or your organizations that you've heard along the way. So who wants to start?
I can pick that one off.
I don't think.
Here, do you want to try this?
Sure. Hello. Huh. Can you hear me? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I'm happy to kick that one off. You know, we at Housing in Action, we have really great stories across, again, the renter, the resident dynamic, as well as the homeownership dynamic. And so I'll tell one from each. On the resident side, we have had renters that have been in our portfolio for 10, 15 years. And you build relationships with people over that time. And it's such an incredible journey to get to know families so intimately. And we have, I'm thinking of one family specifically. It's a 2-parent household. They have a young person that just got into college, and I'll share what school in a minute. But this family has been very active in our housing community. So at Housing in Action, we gather our community to talk about what's happening in the neighborhood, what's happening in our buildings, and really recognizing that policy transformation starts with people being connected, then organizing together, then being willing to take that extra time to go advocate for policies that they believe in. So that's why we have that foundation. And this particular family has been incredibly active in our space. They show up, they communicate, and the father in the household experienced a really tragic injury that actually took him out of work. And he, because of the trust that we have with that family, he actually reached out to us ahead of time, and he was like, he communicated what was going on and the impact that the injury and the healing process was going to have on his ability to parent. And we were able to work with the family to keep them stabilized in the home. He has come through his healing process. They are back on track with their rental payments, so the family is stabilized. And I just got this most exciting news from them. I ran into them in community the other day, and I got the most exciting news from them that their son just got a scholarship to Carleton College, which is my alma mater. And I was like, how incredible is that? How incredible is that? Yeah. So the relationships that we're able to build as housing orgs is so important. On the ownership side, and I'm short on time, so I'm like, I hope I'm not talking too much. But on the ownership side, you know, we recently had a young person enter into our affordable housing ownership opportunity. And so, you know, we develop homes. A lot of our homes are single family, but we're also trying to expand that, like I said earlier, into cooperatives, into cluster homes, and trying to access a range of income levels in our development. And recently, very recently, we had a young person, Black, queer, from the Twin Cities come into our affordability purchase space. And she was able to complete a home purchase. And she was like, I never thought I would have access to this because my parents didn't have access to this. And so it's stories like those two in particular that while we talk about having a small 11-person staff, those are the stories that keep us in the work.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that is the why we get up every day, to make sure those families are stable in their rental and can provide jumping points for that young person going to Carleton. When he graduates, his world is going to expand immensely.
Yeah. And
for this new owner,
right,
similar, world's going to expand immensely.
And without stable home ownership, those opportunities can be really hard to reach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And without stable rental, you do not get to stable ownership.
Yeah. Totally agree. 100%. 100%.
And for so many folks to really believe that home ownership is not possible. Yeah. They think because whether it has never happened in their family, or it seems, you look at the prices, I'm not even, I have as well, is to tell people, reach out, because there are so many options out there for you for home ownership or rental assistance or whatever you need. I mean, it's always worth asking. That's so awesome that you were able to work with that.
Absolutely.
Homeowner.
Yeah. And do you have a third short story you were going to share with us, or was that?
I can. I was going to focus
like,
on
I have
those
100
too, but
stories.
I also am like, I want to, share the mic, share the airspace.
Go on.
I can share a personal story.
Great.
Of my personal self. So, I was raised in a single family home in the suburb of Chicago called Evanston. And I'm really proud of that because I come from a legacy family. My great-great-grandmother was a part of the community that integrated Evanston when Black folks migrated from the South. So being raised there was really meaningful to me. But when I was growing up, we were renters.
Yeah.
I loved where I lived. There was a lot of community and connection there. It felt very stable. But when I got to high school, my mom bought a condo. And that was huge for our family. It meant that we were in a different kind of part of the community of Evanston. It meant that we continued stability, but for the long haul, generationally. And I'll just share that one of the great gifts that I really value again about Evanston is Evanston has a program called a reparations kind of fund for families.
Yeah.
And so the idea of this fund is that foundational families, Black families specifically, receive a tax, like a tax credit essentially, that comes from their cannabis tax that they can put towards any type of ownership related expenses. So that could be purchasing, it could be renovation, et cetera, et cetera. And this is huge. Like, I hope we talk about the constitutional amendment because I really believe about taxes being applied to create greater equity.
Yeah, that might be a different show.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I just wanted to drop that in there. But, I received that support.
Yeah.
And when she passed away, that support.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went from being a family, working class environment to now we have literally multi-generational wealth. And it was a combination of her individual hard work and grit and policy, local policy. And I will end it with that.
I love that. No, that's a good place. And Anne, take it away.
I love that story as well. And I'll just say one of the things that we're working on broadly across all these different housing programs is that we have housing choice, right? When I think about my housing story, you know, from the time I was born, when I was little, our family was renters. Then we are homeowners with us 3 kids, all in 1 bedroom in a very small 2-bedroom house. And, you know, out of college, I lived in a 4-plex walk up and then rentals. Then I had my own home, a single family home, and now I live in a townhouse, right? There is not one kind of housing for one person. We change in our lives and we have different housing needs. And that's part of the point of all these policies is to deliver all of those opportunities for people whenever they need them and wherever they need them, importantly. I just want to highlight one huge effort MHP has been working on, and that is now really embraced through a collaborative of housing funders, and it's called Minnesota Home Stories. It's mnstories.org. And we've done a lot of work about understanding how powerful these stories of home are in really changing hearts and minds of people. And through that work, how do we really change this whole narrative on housing? How do we make sure that, you know, today we see people who are unhoused on the street,
right? And
we sort of subconsciously begin to accept that as part of the background of just our streets and our community. And how do we shift and make that so wrong, so immoral, so powerful that we can change the policies and make sure everyone has a home? So Home Stories Project, mnhomestories.org, you can link to right now and share your story. And it is a collection of home stories that we can then use with policymakers of all kinds across the state to really say, this is happening in your community too. And these stories are really powerful.
I didn't know you guys did that. So I'm learning something today too. I feel like I always learn something new on these shows. So that's very powerful. Yeah.
I guess,
you know, let's talk about, I think we have a few more minutes left. I'm looking, we only have 1 more minute. Oh, what? Anne?
No, I will just add that, you know, part of the work of this narrative, I just want to add, which has been so exciting. We've done so much research and polling and focus groups and outreach with community in rural Minnesota and in the Twin Cities. Starting the research thinking that people's views of home, views of those solutions would be very different.
Yeah.
And they're not.
Yeah.
Because like the air we breathe and the food we eat and the water we drink, housing is a basic human need, and that resonates with everyone. And when we say in Minnesota, you know, you see a car stuck in the snow, everyone goes out and we take care of each other and we work together to do that. What we found by research, in addition to what we know about Minnesotans, is that they believe that's true in the fact that everyone should have a home, and that a stable community means a strong community for everyone.
Absolutely. And we talk about that a lot in the work that we do at the Real Estate Collaborative, how housing is a basic need, and the real estate industry, I need a sound bite for this, but I mean, we've been a part of the commodification of housing, which has a lot of negative impacts, it turns out. So one thing I'd like to shift to now is a little bit of word definition or phrase definition, because the last part of the show, we are going to talk about the legislation that's at the state and that will be back in 2027. But the difference between affordable housing and housing affordability, like, I just don't think that can be overstated, because it's not a subtle difference. The words are very similar, but it's a pretty dramatic difference. So Anne or AsaleSol, does one of you want to tackle that difference?
In the housing development world and underwriting and financing, there are a number of government programs that target housing to income. And one of the 60% of an area median income counts as affordable housing at the federal level. In the Twin Cities, our area median income is about $4,000.
Mm-hmm.
So 60%, it's like $75,000.
Yeah.
So we're spending public government resources to create housing that's affordable to folks at that income level, which is really important because they're also stressed in the housing market.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean if you're making half that much that it's affordable to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be affordable by regulation, but it may not be affordable to you and your family.
Right.
And that is the stress that people are about trying to afford their lives, that all of these things, whether they are in line with what the government's telling you is affordable housing, will not be in line with you having a life you can afford.
That's right. And if I can add to that, I would say that part of how that data is assessed is on a county level. So when we get on a community, when we hone in on communities, we see things like how, North Minneapolis is a part of Hennepin County with a much higher AMI than the neighborhoods within North Minneapolis.
Right.
And yet what is considered affordable, to Anne's very specific, accurate point, is general. And it is kind of based on this area median income.
Mm-hmm.
So you have people that literally cannot reach that high that are being put in the same category with those making $75,000 a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're talking about folks making $50,000 a year, folks making $30,000 a year.
Yep. And to take that one step further, affordable housing, I mean, the way, we've heard it described as you don't want to pay more than 30% of your gross, like pre-tax, which I always thought was weird, but I guess you
Agreed.
have to, yeah,
it's weird.
Your gross income to housing, 30%. So I like encouraging people that are listening, that are in our audience, do your own calculation. How much of your income is going towards housing?
Yes. And I think in terms of,
because 30% is a lot.
30% is a lot, but when we look at stability, I encourage people to look at their net income.
Yeah.
You don't want your housing costs to be more than 30% of your take-home pay, because that means you have resources to go in other places. That is really important. And so just to go back, or to bring it back to your original question, affordability, housing that is affordable, means that it's housing that we can all access. We can feel comfortable living in that housing. We can feel like I can pay for, whether it's my mortgage or my rent. And I can also pay comfortably for my food and my rising grocery bills. And I can pay for that rising gas price. And I can pay for all these things. And I can save. And I can have a little fun with the money that I'm working really hard for.
Right.
That is the difference.
Yep. Amen, sister.
And I will say too
sibling
that there is not a county in Minnesota in which at least 25% of the households are paying more than that. And in fact, across Minnesota, there are a number of counties, a lot of counties where folks are paying half of their income just for housing. And of course, to AsaleSol's point, that is what squeezes out the rest of your life, whether it's health and transportation and childcare and food.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked a lot about affordability. We're going to come back on the other side of the break and talk about housing affordability. So we've talked about what it means to live in affordable housing, or when a housing is affordable. And then we're going to come back and talk about housing affordability on the other side of the break. We're live at Pride, Reckoning with Real Estate, and we'll be back in a couple minutes.
Bringing down the light.
This is Chad.
owner of AM 950. I want to tell you about a better, more environmentally friendly way to care for your lawn with Natural Lawn. Natural Lawn has been treating Minnesota lawns for more than 20 years with organic-based natural products that feed the soil without unnecessary chemicals. That means an envy-worthy, healthier lawn that's safer for your family and your furry friends. Natural Lawn has no contracts and is 100% satisfaction guaranteed. So let Natural Lawn handle your lawn care so you can enjoy your lawn. More at naturalawn.com.
If something happened to you tonight, who has your kids? It's not a comfortable question, but it's the most important one you may ever answer. Without an estate plan, a judge, a stranger, decides their future. At Schroman Law, we're an all-women firm protecting families that look like yours. Guardianship, trusts, peace of mind. Your children, your rules, legally. SchromanLaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces is having their annual maintenance service special. Every stove, insert, and fireplace needs regular maintenance. Woodland goes over the critical components that control your fire to ensure safe and efficient operation. Get it done now and save $40, and you'll be ready to fire up the next cool night.
Hi, I'm Adam Ostrowski, co-owner and head of service at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. We have the equipment and the know-how to supply and maintain stoves and fireplaces. Contact us by phone at 612-338-6606 or request service online at woodlandstoves.com and take advantage of our spring service and maintenance special.
This is a great time of year to visit the store. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces is located just off of I-94 and Riverside Avenue and East Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis. Open weekdays 9:30 to 5:30 and 9:30 to 4 on Saturdays. They invite you to visit and see the Twin Cities' most diverse selection of wood, gas, and electric stoves and fireplaces.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
The Real Estate Collaborative is real estate reimagined, offering traditional residential real estate services with a focus on ethical, flat fee commissions, transparency, and equity. We partner with housing nonprofits to connect realtors and clients with their communities. Whether buying, selling, or interested in housing justice, contact us at therecolab.com. At the Real Estate Collaborative, we believe that in order to defeat things we don't like, we need to build things we do. We hope you'll join us.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Today, sunshine with a high of 83, then tonight, cloudy with a low of 65. Farmer's Kitchen and Bar connects the local harvest directly to downtown Minneapolis. They prioritize sourcing as many ingredients as possible from local farmers. Check them out on South 2nd Street next to the Guthrie Theater, open Wednesday through Sunday. Visit farmerskitchenandbar.com. This is AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Am I supposed to be talking?
I think so.
Am I supposed to be talking now? Oh, hello. Welcome back to Reckoning with Real Estate, a show about the American dream and building a better real estate company. So before the break, we were talking about my microphone or something's tinny, but I'm going to carry on. We were talking about the difference between housing. We were talking about the difference between affordable housing and housing affordability. And it's subtle, but it's super important. And in order for housing to be affordable, somebody should pay no more than 30% of their gross income is how it's defined, to AsaleSol's point before the break. I mean, really, it should be your net income of your take-home pay. So if people in the audience or who are listening want to do their own calculation, you'll find that a lot of you probably pay 20%, and that feels like a lot. Some of you may find you pay 50 or 60%, and it feels unsustainable. My own mother is, she's in a 62 and plus building, and she's on a fixed income, and 70% of her income goes towards her rent. Wow. And it's painful to watch. Yeah. And
we define that as cost burdened.
Yes,
right?
Cost burdened. Yes, where she has to make difficult decisions, and she doesn't have the opportunity to have fun. Now she's 83 years old, so I don't know that she wants to have fun anymore. But
yes.
I mean, but
still those hard choices.
Really, really hard choices. So that's what it means for housing to be affordable. And housing affordability is, Anne or AsaleSol?
Well, I just think it's one component to make sure that your lives are affordable.
Mhm.
So it's what's affordable to you, not what's affordable according to some other entity, whether it's a landlord or a government program or whatever that is. And what's affordable to you, I was going to say you can calculate it. I think most people calculate it every single month.
Yeah.
When they're paying the bills and they figure out what's left.
Yeah.
So housing affordability is about making sure that we have room for everything else in our lives as well.
Yeah.
And right now, too many people do not.
Right. And right now in our state and in the Twin Cities, and really this is happening throughout the country, housing values are skyrocketing, especially during COVID. They've steadied out a little bit, but they're becoming unsustainable. Rents are skyrocketing. And so what is the solution to getting those prices to come down so people have, affordable places to live? And one of the solutions is more supply. And Anne, I think, loves supply and demand as much as I do. And she's going to talk about it in terms of what it means around housing.
Well, I think right now, in the simplest terms, the housing market is a little bit like the game musical chairs.
Yep.
I don't know if any of you ever played that as a kid, but the point of the game is that there's chairs in a circle. Kids are walking around in the circle, and when the music stops, you try and get that chair. But the game is rigged because there's 10 people and 9 chairs. And so when one person doesn't get it, you think, well, they lost. They weren't fast enough. They didn't do enough. But our housing market, which simply does not have enough homes in it. Right now, we are 100,000 homes short in Minnesota and over 4 million homes short nationwide.
Will you hold that thought for a minute? Because
Yes.
I'm going to add one more statistic.
Yes,
that
please.
Ed Goetz found very fascinating when we were interviewing him, and it's from the Yes to Homes one pager that talks about housing affordability. The number of counties in Minnesota where the median income family can afford the median priced home. Does anybody, Anne, you know the answer.
Put out the graphic.
Yeah,
on this one.
yeah, yeah. So AsaleSol and Megan, do you want to guess how many counties in Minnesota can the median income family afford the median priced home? And we have like 80 or 90 counties in Minnesota.
87.
87.
I'm going to say 5.
Okay, Megan?
Yeah, 10.
Ding, ding, ding. An audience member just got it. 0. Okay, so carry on, Anne.
Well, and that's true because we track some of the 5 most in-demand jobs that are being created every year to see how they track with an average 2-bedroom apartment or a first-time home. And again, only registered nurses typically are even able to afford home ownership. And even this last year, they edged down. So yes, this is a constant challenge in doing this. But what I want to say about the housing market is that part of this is I want to relieve individuals from feeling like a failure when they can't find an affordable home.
Absolutely.
Because the folks that then get pushed out of the market when there's not enough homes are folks that are the most vulnerable because they have the lowest incomes, because they might have criminal backgrounds, they might have mental health issues, they might have all kinds of challenges, physical disabilities or elderly, fixed income, challenges that keep them out. They're the ones that don't get that extra chair. They're the ones that don't get the home, and it's not their fault. We don't have enough homes. And the other thing I'll say is we have goals publicly. The state had a goal to create 300,000 new homes by 2030. Met Council has regional goals to create, in the last biennium, it was 36,000 affordable homes during a 10-year time period. But we're not accomplishing those goals. So that Met Council goal, which every single city is a part of accomplishing. So every city has their own city goals on creating affordable housing, and then that aggregates up. So instead of 36,000, which is actually less than the need, but the goal of 36,000 the last 10 years, we created 16,000.
Wow.
So it's a 20,000 gap of homes needed.
Yeah.
And that just happens year over year over year
Yeah.
over year, and we keep falling behind.
Yeah.
And so we need to do something different, because the current way in which we create housing is not producing the outcomes that we clearly so desperately need in terms of new homes.
So what do you think we should do differently?
Well,
Ding, 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 ding.
the Yes to Homes Coalition is a coalition looking at land use and zoning reforms to try to make it faster, easier, more efficient, and create more homes that we need across Minnesota. So at the most fundamental part, that's what we're trying to do. But I think to understand this, we need to understand that zoning really is an outcrop of discriminatory and racial prejudice, where we created policies, as we noted earlier, people, generations before us created policies to keep people out of their communities. We have a wonderful project in the Twin Cities called Mapping Prejudice, where you can actually see in people's, in their titles, that
the racially restrictive covenants.
The covenants that racially restrict. Those patterns of where those occurred continue to be the patterns today, where people do not have housing choice and housing access in the same way. And they, you can predict race by those old maps to what's happening today too, in terms of neighborhoods and access to housing.
Right.
And when you can predict race, you can also, it's an indicator for other avenues of success markers, right? So that's important for us to just tie together, as well as that we have this history and people talk about it like, oh, it's past, it's not today. It's impacted today very much. You can see it visibly when you look at these maps.
Yeah.
I love Mapping Prejudice.
I do too. It's very
but it's
powerful.
also amplified by education outcomes, ability to leverage a higher income for your work. It ripples out. And so I just think that's really important. And when people start to, I'm gonna go to a place.
I want you to.
Yeah, when
go
people,
there. I don't know where it is, but let's go.
When people start to push back on zoning, that means that less homes get built. That is another way of saying we only want a certain type of person in our neighborhood. We only want accessibility for certain people that look like us, people that we assume think the way that we do, people that have had the same access and opportunities that we have had. And so I just want to be really clear about that when we're talking about yes to homes versus people that are like, no, don't expand zoning, do not change these laws. That is racism. It is racism in people today.
Yeah, and those same people will also say, we don't want that housing in our community, but you can go over there and build it. Like,
That's right.
I mean, we want people to have housing.
That's
well, it just doesn't work that way.
That's right.
And the way that shows up is Jerusalem Demsis writes for The Atlantic, and she's one of the key writers on this topic. And frankly, Minnesota is a leader in many things, but not in this. In different ways, up to 27 different states have already modernized their zoning and land use approaches at the state level. Minnesota is falling behind that. And that has happened in blue states and red states. So we have a lot of work to continue to do on this. But the simplest way to think about it is we're asking the wrong question at the wrong point in the process to the wrong person. So instead of having cities, which most cities have comprehensive planning, they plan out where multifamily is in their communities, where commercial properties are, where single family homes are, all of that. But then when a development comes forward, it's as if that process starts from the beginning all over again.
Right.
So instead of just saying, yeah, hey, we've already done this process with our community and the vision, and now here's the rules, let's just let staff review and make sure that your proposal complies with that vision and rule. Instead, we start from the beginning, and the moment the word affordable or density shows up in that conversation, we have hearings and hearings and hearings, and after years, they'll turn around and the council will turn to, Mrs. Johnson next door and say, well, do you want this building? And she says, oh, thank you so much for asking. No, I don't.
Yes.
Right.
And then everything shuts down. And that's why it's so affordable. That's why we can't build enough.
Right. So to connect the dots, just the straight line, time is money. And so
Time
that
is
is
money.
exactly one of the problems why housing is so unaffordable. And I'm sure you both know about the Habitat for Humanity, the townhomes that they were trying to be built in Minnetonka. And to your point, that was a precise example of what you were just talking about. 5 years, 6 years later, $80,000, $100,000 of hard costs. I think the city finally approved it, but they demanded that it was 11 townhomes instead of 12. That makes my brain hurt and makes my heart hurt that was like, really, it couldn't be 12. So just a real life example.
There are so many stories
Mhm.
Along that line that we could have several shows about those. But this is what I would say. This legislation, one of the most inspiring pieces of this work is the coalition itself.
Yep.
Both among legislative leaders, which has the Republican and Democratic chairs of the Housing Committee. And in the Senate, it has a Republican and a Democratic lead on this. So it is bipartisan at the legislature. And then the coalition itself it's growing so fast. 60, 70 organizations, includes everything from, folks that work on food shelves to ARP, to ARC of Minnesota with people with disabilities, to and Republican and Democratic leaning orgs. So it's a very interesting coalition that nationally is unique in all these efforts and is getting national attention. But this is what it would do, if I could just quickly say. Is that basically it's trying to keep cities in the driver's seat by saying, yes, this is our community, but it also gives them goals of how much of your land actually has to be multifamily, how much density you actually do, but you get to decide where that happens. So the cities remain in the driver's seat, but more housing gets facilitated.
Yes. And so here we have about a minute left. It goes fast, doesn't it? Yeah. And here's what I'm going to say. I would love to have you both back on the show in studio at AM 950. And we're going to dive deep into Yes to Homes legislation, because it turns out housing's super complicated. It's a basic need that we all need to thrive. Yes. The stable, affordable, accessible, dignified housing, whether it's home ownership or rental. And yet it's super complicated to get it built. And so the Yes to Homes legislation, Google it, information will pop up. And we are, I think, out of time. And I wish we could be here for another hour to continue this conversation. Thank you, AsaleSol. Thank you, Anne, for being here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And happy Pride, everybody. And
happy Pride.
Enjoy your weekend.
Take my breath away, oh, wrecking ball, you